Welcome to the Appliance Repair Academy. In this lesson, you will learn how to diagnose and replace the lid switch on a Whirlpool WTW7500GW top-load washing machine. The part number is 1040450. The lid switch is one of the most commonly replaced parts on this platform. When it fails, the washer will not spin, will not agitate, or will stop mid-cycle as if the lid is open, even when it is fully closed. You may also see a fault code of F7E1 on the display. By the end of this video, you will know how to confirm the switch has failed, how to safely access and remove it, how to install the correct replacement part, and how to test the repair. Let us get started.
Before you touch anything on this machine, safety first. Unplug the washer from the wall outlet. Do not rely on the power button. Physically remove the plug. Place a lockout tag on the cord so nobody restores power while you are working. This is OSHA Lockout Tagout 29 CFR 1910-147. It applies in every professional shop and every home service call. Turn off the hot and cold water supply valves behind the machine. You will not be disconnecting hoses today, but it is good practice to isolate water anytime the top panel comes off. Tools you will need: a Phillips No. 2 screwdriver, a flat blade screwdriver or putty knife, a digital multimeter set to continuity, and a small magnetic parts dish to hold your screws. Safety glasses on, you are ready to begin.
Before you open anything, let the machine tell you what is wrong. If the display is functional, the Whirlpool WTW7500 can show fault codes. The code for a lid switch failure is F7E1. That stands for lid switch fault. To retrieve stored codes, press the power button to wake the machine, then press any button 3 times within 5 seconds and look at the display. If you do not see a code, perform a manual test. Close the lid and attempt to start a spin cycle. If the drum does not move but the motor hums briefly, the switch is the prime suspect. If the drum moves freely and the lid light stays on even with the lid closed, that also points to the switch. The definitive test is with your multimeter. Set it to continuity. Disconnect the 3-pin wiring connector from the switch. We will cover that in a later scene. And place your probes on the 2 switch terminals. With the lid actuator pressed down, you should hear a beep. No beep means the switch has failed. We will confirm this again after removal.
The washer is unplugged and water is off. Pull the machine about 18 inches from the wall so you have room to work behind it. Walk around to the back of the machine and stand directly behind it. Look at the rear top edge of the white top panel, the flat horizontal surface running across the very top of the machine at the rear. You will see 3 Phillips No. 2 screws lined up along that rear top edge, one on the left side, one in the center, one on the right side. These are the only fasteners holding the rear of the top panel down. Use your Phillips No. 2 screwdriver and remove all 3 screws. Set them in your magnetic dish. You will need them again during reassembly. Once all 3 are out, the back of the panel is free. Walk around to the front of the machine. The front edge of the top panel is held down by 2 spring clips, one on the left side and one on the right side. They sit inside the seam between the bottom edge of the top panel and the top of the front cabinet wall. Take your flat blade screwdriver or putty knife. Insert the blade horizontally into that seam at the left side, about 2 inches in from the left corner. Press the blade firmly inward toward the rear of the machine until you feel the clip release. You will hear a pop. Now do the same on the right side. Blade into the seam, press inward, pop. With both clips released, reach under the front edge of the top panel with both hands and tilt it backward toward the rear of the machine. It hinges from the rear tabs, like opening a car hood. Tilt it back slowly and let it rest against the wall. Important: There is a lid switch wiring harness running from the top panel down into the cabinet. Do not yank the panel or pull it further than it wants to go. Tilt it gently and let it rest. The interior of the machine is now fully open.
With the top panel tilted back, you can now see inside the machine. Take a moment to orient yourself before touching anything. The lid switch assembly is located at the front left corner of the cabinet top, the flat metal ledge that surrounds the wash tub opening. It is a small rectangular plastic housing, roughly 2 inches by 1 inch, sitting in a molded pocket in the metal cabinet top. There is a small white or gray plastic actuator button on top of the switch. That is what the lid strikes when you close it. A 3-pin wiring connector leads out of the back of the switch body and routes along the front cabinet wall. The part number W10404050 may be molded into the underside of the switch housing, but you will need to remove it to read it. Confirm visually that the switch housing matches the replacement part you have on hand before going further. They should be identical in shape, pin count, and actuator style.
Before you remove any screws, disconnect the wiring harness. It is always safer to disconnect electrical connections before you start moving hardware. The lid switch has a 3-pin keyed connector. Look at the back of the switch housing and you will see the connector plugged in. There is a small locking tab on one side of the connector body. Press that tab inward with your thumb or a small flat blade screwdriver while pulling the connector straight back. Do not pull on the wires. Pull on the connector body only. The connector is keyed. It only goes back one way, so you cannot install it incorrectly later. Before you set the connector aside, take a photo with your phone showing how the wire harness is routed along the cabinet wall. This is your reference photo. When you install the new switch, you will route the harness the same way. A pinched harness behind the cabinet wall causes a callback, and a reference photo prevents that.
With the harness disconnected, you can now remove the switch from the cabinet. The lid switch is held in place by 2 Phillips No. 2 screws. They pass through 2 flanged ears on the switch housing and thread into the metal cabinet top. Look at both sides of the switch housing and you will see a screw on each ear. Remove both screws and set them in your parts dish. These are small screws. Do not lose them. With the screws out, lift the switch straight up out of its molded pocket. It may feel slightly snug. That is normal. Do not pry it. Just lift it straight up and it will come free. The harness is already disconnected, so the switch will lift out cleanly. Set the old switch aside. You now have full access to the mounting pocket and the connector stub for inspection.
Now, inspect the old switch before installing the new one. This step teaches you what failure looks like, so you can recognize it on future calls. A healthy lid switch has a clean, intact plastic housing, a spring-loaded actuator button that clicks firmly when pressed and returns fully when released, and clean, undamaged terminals inside the connector port. The first common failure mode is a cracked or broken actuator. The small plastic button that the lid strikes can crack or shear off entirely. If the actuator is broken, the switch contacts never close. The machine thinks the lid is always open. The second failure mode is burned or corroded internal contacts. The switch contacts carry current every time the machine starts a cycle. Over time, they arc and corrode. From the outside, the housing may look fine, but the continuity test will show open circuit. Now, test the new switch before installing it. Set your multimeter to continuity. Press the actuator button down and touch your probes to the 2 switch terminals. You should hear a beep. Release the button, the beep should stop. If the new switch passes this test, it is ready to install.
Take your new lid switch W10404050 and orient it so the actuator button faces up and the connector port faces toward the rear wall. Exactly the same orientation as the old switch. Lower the switch straight down into the molded pocket in the metal cabinet top at the front left corner. The flanged ears on both sides of the housing will sit flat on the cabinet metal surface. Do not force it. If it does not drop in cleanly, check that the actuator is facing up and the housing is not rotated. Once the switch is seated in the pocket, hand start both Phillips screws through the flanged ears and into the cabinet metal. Hand start both screws before you tighten either one. This keeps the housing aligned. Then tighten both screws with your screwdriver. Snug and firm. Do not over-tighten or you will crack the plastic housing ears.
Now reconnect the 3-pin wiring harness to the new switch. Hold the connector body, not the wires, and align it with the connector port on the back of the switch. The keyed shape will only allow it to seat in the correct orientation. Push the connector straight in until you hear and feel it click into place. Give the connector a firm tug to confirm it is fully seated. If it pulls back out, it was not fully clicked in. Push again until it locks. Now route the wire harness back along the cabinet wall exactly as your reference photo shows. Press the harness into any retention clips on the cabinet wall. Verify that no wire is pinched between the cabinet metal and any other surface. A pinched wire causes an intermittent fault that is very hard to diagnose later. Only a licensed professional should perform any live voltage verification of the circuit. Do not test this on a hot machine without proper qualifications.
You are ready to close the machine back up. Reassembly is the reverse of disassembly, and the order matters. Step 1. Tilt the top panel back up from its resting position against the wall. Hold it at a slight angle. Do not let it slam down. Step 2. Start from the rear. Lower the rear edge of the top panel down so the 2 rear hinge tabs hook over the rear cabinet lip. These tabs are small plastic clips built into the underside of the rear panel edge. Lower the panel slowly until you feel the tabs seat over the lip. Do not snap or force the front first. The rear tabs must engage first or the panel will not align. Step 3. Once the rear tabs are hooked, press down on the front edge of the panel firmly with both hands, one on the left side, one on the right. You will hear and feel both spring clips snap into place. That click tells you the front is secured. Step 4. Walk back around to the rear of the machine. Reinstall the 3 Phillips No. 2 screws along the rear top edge, left, center, and right. Snug them down, but do not over-tighten. The panel is now fully closed.
The machine is reassembled. Now, restore power from the side stand to the side of the machine, not in front of it, when you plug the power cord back in. Turn on the hot and cold water supply valves. Load a small test load or run the machine empty. Select a normal cycle and press Start. Close the lid firmly. The machine should begin filling and then move into agitation. Open the lid mid-cycle. The machine should pause. Close it again. The machine should resume. This confirms the new lid switch is communicating correctly with the control board. If the machine still displays F7E1 after the repair, clear the fault code by pressing the power button, then power cycling the machine. If the code returns, check your connector seating and verify the harness is fully clicked in. References for this repair: the Whirlpool WTW7500GW Use and Care Guide and Tech Sheet are available at whirlpool.com/support. OSHA 29 CFR 1910.147 covers lockout-tagout requirements. NFPA 70E covers electrical safety in the workplace.
Always consult these resources and work within your qualifications. This has been the Appliance Repair Academy.